So, a very good evening, friends. Welcome to another good and great episode on sportsmanship, spirit of life. We have a very, very special guest today with us, Mr. Nilesh Kulkarni. Welcome, Nilesh, and thank you for accepting the invitation, taking time off your busy schedule. To people who have known him, he is an international cricketer. He's a founder and founder director of International Institute of Sports Management. Now, if you look at what is sports management, I think Nilesh had taken a bold step forward in establishing and pioneering the sports management education in India 10 years ago. By founding this institute, he's looked at this, the entire formation of the Institute of International Institute of Sports Management, which is India's first institute to offer undergraduate and postgraduate programs in collaboration with the University of Mumbai. That's a big thing achieved. They have trained almost 900 plus competent sports management professionals in the industry. And under his guidance, IISM has launched Sports Academia Research Journal. That's commendable. You have a journal too, India's first ever sports research journal in collaboration with the Inside Journal, which is an international online journal. So welcome, Nilesh, for this episode. There's lots to learn from you and from the team, and we will get in these times of uncertainty. We decided to keep this episode because we have a lot to learn from sports. It's a game where we are as a team. We have to stay positive. We have to look at how in adverse circumstances we survive, and the sportsmanship spirit. So the first question to you is, what makes a good sportsman or a sportswoman?
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for inviting me here. It is wonderful to interact with you. Doctor, I think it's always a pleasure to have a good interaction. So I think what sport gives us is the real time. And I always say this, that in sports, when you're actively playing, we don't have retakes. Yes. So all the decisions, all the processes, all the preparatory work leads you to be that decision-making ready when you are about to take that right or wrong decision, along with the accountability. So that's why I always say what sport teaches us is this real-time ability of overcoming the anxiety, pressure situation, and making sure that you're ready for that particular moment every single time you are put into either a good situation or a difficult situation. So I think for me, that's the biggest learning what sport has given us. And no other profession except when you are on the defense, an army or a air force or a navy. These are the parallel fields which can actually give you that particular moment of experience when it's a real-time thing. And that's personally for me, sport is the most powerful medium, which gives us those real-time lessons which are not available anywhere else, because like I said before, you don't have retakes. And I remember one excellent quote by Saurav Ganguly when he became the president of BCCI. He was asked, what is your opinion about what do you like the most, playing on the field or being in the chair of BCCI? He said, of course, playing on the field, because that's something I always believe in challenging myself. If I make some error when I'm president, I can correct it, better it, and improve it. But when I'm playing, if I edge it, I'm sitting in my pavilion. So that's the best part about sport, which gives you those real-time things.
So would you like to share some experiences when you're walking on thin edge? The way you said, situations are really here and there, and you have to take some decisions and you have to show your best. Could you relate to some experience from life?
Of course. I think the best part about it is, I'm part of a world record where I was lucky to get a wicket on my first ball in Test cricket. But very few people know about the next 3 days. I'm part of another record which went against India, where Sri Lanka managed to score 950 runs in a single innings. So that is something a reality check sport gives you. So on that day, in that moment, I was on a high. That evening, when the day got over, I was actually in a dream world. But little did I realize that the next 3 days are going to be very, very difficult and tough for me. And that's what sport teaches you. Be patient, perseverance, wait for that right opportunity when you get it, and make sure you grab it, because otherwise you will not get that second opportunity. And that's something which, in my opinion, I have personally learned. And I've learned to apply all these management skills which I've learned on the field, be it management skill, leadership, critical thinking, analysis, making sure what data gives you. So all these things which are part of our management book, we sports people learn it on the field, and that too a real time. So a decision which goes wrong, you are accountable. A decision which goes right, you take the credit. And if it goes wrong, you take that criticism. And as a sports people, you're always ready to start accepting. And one of the very good quotes, which I will share it with you, great Sachin Tendulkar, he always said that to me, that, Sachin Tendulkar is considered as the best cricketer ever India has produced. And he has quoted saying that, the most difficult part for him was to stay in present, because his past was so glorified and his future is so bright. For him, the toughest challenge was to stay in that present. And if it comes from him, then it's like, it's the bullseye of the situation.
Thank you. That was wonderful. So coming to the sportsmanship spirit, what defines the sportsmanship spirit? What do you think it is all about? Cultivating the sportsmanship spirit. What is needed to have that quality?
The beauty of sportsman spirit is because you are competing at the highest level with the best, whether it's an individual sport or a team sport. The sportsman spirit comes as part of a package because you start respecting the competitors. You start respecting the competitions you engage in, the battles you have. That allows you that if you have given more than 100%, and even after giving 100%, somebody else comes up as a winner, as a sports person, you start acknowledge, accept, and give the due credit to the opposition who played better than you. And for me, that's a sportsman spirit. And the moment you do that, the next time when you come up a winner, the opposition will also recognize and acknowledge the efforts and the intensity of getting the combinations right for you to be a winner. Becomes a very, very healthy atmosphere. And that's, for me, is a good sportsman spirit, because the moment you start appreciating and acknowledging the efforts put in by the opposition when you are competing, if he or she comes out as a winner, and if you come out as a winner, if you start respecting the same effort, the same intensity, and then acknowledge that, for me, that's the best practice you can have as a sportsman spirit.
So it is accepting, it is acknowledging, appreciating, and definitely going forth one more mile across to say, let's walk the mile together, right? So
Yeah,
that,
because end of the day, if you are a winner today, you might be a loser tomorrow. And if you are a loser today, you might become a winner tomorrow. So the moment you understand this important component, we always believe in the world that, we are competing and we have to come out as a winner. But the stat shows that in humans, 60 to 70% of the time we fail. We succeed only 30 to 40% times. But if you don't refer to those failures, you will not, you will not have a better time when you are winning, or you will not start respecting and acknowledging the wins more. So I think that's where the sportsman spirit comes in. What do you learn from it? How do you apply it next time when you practice or play, which helps you become a winner? And then you start respecting the opponents more.
So that's a very good lesson, that failure is a stepping stone to success. And we fail more and we get success, maybe 30%, as you said, but we always like to live in that 30% success more than looking at the failures. So
I'll officially quote one quote which I love the most. Our ex-president, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, he very beautifully explained the definition of fail, FAIL, is the first attempt in learning. And if you look at it that positively, you will always want to overcome those challenges and not look at it failure as a negative.
Wonderful. So my next question is coming to your hardcore practice, coming to your when you're into sport, you need to practice. You need to, when you're thinking of winning or even becoming a good sportsman, or a sportswoman, what do you do exactly? How does wellness apply in this field? Do you think that all the aspects of wellness need to be covered, or what are the main aspects of wellness a sportsman should look at when he or she is looking at training?
I think the most important component for wellness is overcoming your own challenges. And in cricket, we always say that you have to think about that 1% extra. If you every single day of your practice sessions, your intensity, your training, your mind practicing in any process, if you are confident of putting in that 1% extra than what you have, then you're thinking about heading towards achieving your desired goals. And what do I mean by saying that? In practice sessions, there are times where your mind is not there, your body is tired, and you don't feel good about it. But yet, if your first ball of the session and the last ball of the session has same intensity, that means you've put in more than 100% efforts. And for me, that process is extremely important for you to prepare against all odds, because you will not feel the same every single day. But how do you overcome those thoughts? By putting in that extra effort, making sure that you are satisfied when you are coming into your changing rooms, or relaxing after the session. You feel that you've given more than 100% as the process. You will mentally feel satisfied, you will mentally feel calm, purely because you have given what was expected in that particular moment. And that process leads you to your ultimate goal. When you compete hard, you will have different days, you will have different setup, you will have different challenges when you're practicing or performing at the highest level. But what helps you is your preparation. What helps you is your process, which has led to your performance. And that, for me, is the most important component as a preparation. When you're preparing yourself for any activity, this process has to have more than 100% effort, which eventually results into your goals, what you aspire to achieve.
Thank you. So now, when I look at the youngsters, I definitely believe a lot of our youth are watching this program, and from their perspective, suppose many times it is not the decision of the person who wants to play the sport. They look at it coming from the family. They look at peer pressure. They like, oh, Sachin Tendulkar, we want to become like him. So they jump into. So what is it that a person should look at when he decides to come into this sport or any sport? And how can one, how should one rather be focused? Because it is a lot of focus. It's a lot of hard work. It is just not what is seen in the advertisements. It is a lot of hard work. So how does one first choose the way, second walk the way?
The most important component is, it's always good to have the inspirations. All these sporting legends which we are talking about, right from Sachin Tendulkar to Sunil Gavaskar sir, to right now the younger generation of Virat Kohli and PV Sindhus. It's good to have the inspirations. But one of the most important part when they become legends or when they become an inspiration is the way they look at sport, the way they are thinking about it, the way they are trying to overcome challenges, the way they are processing their mind, the way they are processing their entire path is so critical. It does not come easy. There are hours and hours and hours of work ethics, practice sessions which have gone right, which have gone wrong. But what they believe has the potential, and I will consider Sachin Tendulkar as a different. I personally feel he's an institution himself. He's a perfect role model to have, to take an inspiration from. Even though every time there's a situation, I always believe that I should reach out to him to get that advice for my betterment. And likewise, a lot of sports people do that with him. That's why I said Sachin Tendulkar is an inspiration and is a different institute all by himself. But if you see the way Gopi Chand processes as a coach, when Gopi Chand was as a player, now as a coach, the way he treats PV Sindhu and Saina Nehwal and other students under him, the way he prepares them, the methodologies are different. The sessions are planned differently, looking at the individuals. So the way you prepare, the way you look at it, by taking the inspiration, you need to get it to deep into it to understand how they are preparing. And for me, that's something which is very, very critical for all the youngsters who aspire to make it big, representing country. Obviously, you should have the goal to play for your country, but it does not come easy. It takes hours and hours of practice. You definitely require skills. And the most important thing is, how do you switch on, switch off when it's required at that particular moment when you're practicing, preparing for a particular thing. I'll refer one small incident. When I was playing for Indian team, Muthaiya Muralidharan was, from a technical perspective, he was practicing his dusra as a skill. And by then he had already got 200 international wickets. But it took him 8 to 9 months before he mastered that dusra and introduced that at the international level. So a lot of people will say that, it's easy for him to start introducing. No, it is not easy for anybody to start introducing. Harbhajan Singh was working on his dusra for good 5 to 6 months before he felt confident to introduce that into match and that at an international level. So these are the things which happens at the back end. I have seen Sachin Tendulkar practicing on an absolute watery surface with 16 yards to prepare for a short ball before he went to Australia series. So these are the things which makes them a great players, because that process is so important, with that dedication, with that commitment, with that focus, which helps them achieve the excellence. And for me, if I have to share that particular thought to all the youngsters who aspire to make it big, there are no shortcuts. Do not think about, you will always find that as an easy getaway, but that will only lead for multiple problems. The shortcuts will not give you the desired results. It's always important to make sure that you believe in that and stay with it till you achieve it.
How important is goal setting in life? Because one is goal setting, running by your goals, and following a routine to follow those goals. So what do you have any thoughts on goal setting and its importance in sportsmanship?
It is extremely critical. I mean, if you ask me, without goal settings, you cannot become an athlete and you cannot achieve excellence. So if you're not thinking about your goals, the short-term, mid-term, and the long-term goals, then you're not on the right path. And that's the thumb rule of every athlete. Whether they express it or they don't, and they keep it to themselves, is completely individual. But every single person who's aspiring to make it big will always have the goals. And that's how you should be approaching, even if you're aspiring to become a person, or if you're already in certain level and go to next level, you should set your goals. You should always have the short-term, mid-term, long-term goals. The long-term goals are something you should prepare well in advance. The mid-term goals and the short-term goals, in my opinion, should always be above what you can achieve. Then only you will always push yourself. Like I said before, that 1% extra effort will always help you strive harder to achieve that goal. And the moment you are aspiring to achieve that, you are improving every single time you are competing. And that goal is extremely critical, because goal setting, in my opinion, should be mandatory for all the athletes who want to compete, who want to participate, and want to achieve excellence.
Any personal experiences?
I have had a lot of goal settings in my this thing. So when I was growing up, I came from a very humble background. I used to travel about 2 hours plus every single day just to reach for my practice sessions. And I made a pact for myself that I will always make sure that I reach before time and not on time. The reason for it is that, if you are making sure, so, body and your mind processes accordingly. When I have my subconscious mind ready that I have to get up at 4 o'clock, I don't need an alarm to get up at 4 o'clock. Because my mind is already tuned in to get up at 4 o'clock. And if I have to catch a 5 o'clock train, I'm ready, preparing myself in that process of what I need to do in every minute and every 10 minutes of slot. And I used to always prepare. So, before marriage and after marriage, I remember that difference. So I used to switch off my phones at 9:30 to 10 o'clock in the evening, because I needed half an hour to prepare what I'm going to do the next day in my match competition. And it was instructed to the phones, the landlines of the hotels, unless there's an emergency, no calls will come through. And it took my wife some time to get used to that practice, because that goal I had set it for myself, and my family had to adjust to that environment of change. But that was a process which I had designed for myself as a goal. And the next morning before the match starts, I would have again those 15 minutes for myself to just recap about what I'm going to do. And not every time it worked. So I had to prepare my second goal of preparing my fallback option 1 and fallback option 2. What will I process? So these were my processes of goals, how I approached. And I used to set my goals accordingly. And only 60% of the time I failed. 40% of the time I succeeded. But I lived higher with that 40% of the success, because I knew that mentally I was preparing for option 1, option 2, and option 3 as a goal.
So it's all about keeping your options open at all ends to see how you can proceed from what you have learned from this experience. You spoke about a very
Because sport
important
gives
thing.
you,
Yeah.
because sport gives you that anticipation as well, what to expect when the opposition is at the high, when the opposition at the low. And it will always give you those moments. So in your preparation, if that's not your process, then you will always be vulnerable handling that situation.
And how not to become vulnerable?
Preparing better, processing it right,
Okay.
and putting in that. So if you're confident, you are equipped to handle that situation better, because you've gone through these situations multiple times in your practice sessions, in your preparatory sessions. So then you are ready to deal with that situation in a much better way than, if you're not used to that, you become vulnerable.
So do you think that practice is only physical, or there is some amount of mental practice and emotional practice which goes on, which a sportsman should look at?
Absolutely. I think it's important. Mental and physical go hand in hand. They are two sides of the coin. If you're just exposed to one side, and if you're not prepared to the other, you will actually crumble under different situations. And if you're not physically fit and mentally good, you will not be able to deliver what you're expected. And in an exact reverse order, if you're physically good and mentally not there, you will not be in a better situation to handle the critical thinking, and you will again be vulnerable. So there are two sides to a coin.
So when you're looking at all these things, and when you spoke of an important factor of family, so what role does the family play, and your friends, family? How do you maintain the relationship? Because when you're into practice and when you want to achieve your goals, needless to say, you have to be isolated. Like isolation gives a lot of positives. We are in isolation now. We are social distancing, but we require isolation to make ourselves. So how does the family pressures how do you deal with all these situations?
It's extremely important to have your good friends, your good support of family, your, wife, husband, parents. They play extremely critical role in understanding you. The most important point here I would like to make is to start understanding he or she in that particular situation. If they require a comfort zone, you provide them. If they require an isolation, you provide them, because every individual processes it differently. But understanding your partner, understanding your friend, understanding your son, daughter is so important in difficult situations. If he or she feels comfortable in the isolation, you should provide them, because that's their preparation to overcome those challenges. If he or she feels comfortable in the group, just to deviate from that particular pressure situation, you should provide them that. And I was lucky to have my parents and my wife helping me in this entire process, because they allowed my space when I needed. And especially in difficult times, it is extremely critical to have them you by side. Into that comfort zone, you have a cushion to fall back to. You can share certain things. You can get them to give you that right feedback. Even if it's a criticism, it should be good for your improvement. So all these components matters the most when you need it, because as I said before, 70% of the time you fail, but it's this support, the entire ecosystem, which helps you get better at that 30%, which overpowers that 70%. So it's important to get that very, very critical support. And a lot of times this particular aspect gets missed or ignored in due credit. And I'm glad that you brought it into our discussion because, a lot of athletes, they know that they have it, but they fail to acknowledge it sometimes, or they choose to ignore it. So it's important to have that same emphasis of the contribution which is being made by your support system and ecosystem requires equal amount of respect and due credit.
Good. Thank you. That was a lovely answer. So the next is now, what actually encouraged you, or what was your vision when you set up the Sport Management Institute? How did you think about it? What was your vision in setting up the institute?
Actually, it was very funny incident, to say the least. I did not get a contract to play IPL when I was about to finish my cricketing career, and I had very limited options to think about what to do in my cricketing career. So there was a time when me and my wife were discussing and trying to explore multiple options of what to do after cricket. And when IPL contract of execution was awarded to ING UK, which is a UK-based company, I asked my wife that can't we find 100 professionals who can execute an event like IPL? And the answer was no. And that was our trigger point to start introducing International Institute of Sports Management as a full-fledged institute who can offer a trained professionals for the industry who's got passion and a hunger to make it big into the industry. The idea was for us to give the wings to aspiring students to go out there and make a career in their loved and liked field. And that particular aspect became a next motivation for me after finishing my cricket. I can proudly say that became my next mission, to give it back to the society, to give it back to the industry. And that's how we started nurturing, evolving, creating this particular ecosystem for the industry, for training the sports management professionals for the industry.
Many challenges which came up when you set up this institute. I have been to the institute and it's amazing. I mean, it was an amazing visit which I had. Can you tell me what is it that you decided as your mainstay, as offerings to the upcoming sportsmen, and how does it work? What are the different sections, or what are the different parts of the syllabus what you look at to make a person who is approaching you an efficient or a full-fledged sportsman?
The best and the most important part, what we look for in an aspiring student, is to have a good attitude and a very good aptitude. A balance of attitude and an aptitude is extremely important for you to make a career in a sports management professional. Because, as a sports person, all the learnings I have had, I've learned to apply it into developing this Sports Management Institute, IISM. But when I'm expecting a student, the most important and the critical criteria, see, we have a master's and a bachelor's degree in sports management offered by Mumbai University. And we have our own autonomous program as well, which we've been doing that. We had a foreign university tie-up for 7 years, which we continue to do so. The idea of approaching this is a combination of what is not there, how do you Indianize it, and how do you learn from failures? Because sport is a very, very strong medium of allowing you to learn with your failures, which you can apply it into your workplace. And for me, that's a culture which we want, which me and my wife are extremely passionate about introducing that as a culture into our workplace and in our students' environment as well. Because for me, that will give you a complete holistic development approach that will help you handle the situation better if you're put into it. There's a very, very, very unique way of dealing with that. And what I learned about it when I started introducing this ISM is, if there's a match time which starts at 9 o'clock, unless there's a natural calamity, that match will start at 9 o'clock. So the process of preparing yourself to be absolutely ready in every single department, which eventually brings you to start that match at 9 o'clock, is the job of all these sports professionals. So there's all real time. What you learn like a sports person, when you're a sports manager, the same intensity, the same learning, you need to start applying it to make sure that 9 o'clock match starts precisely at 9. So all the back end part, the administration, the production, the broadcasting, the branding, every single component which makes sure that the match should start at 9 o'clock. The people working tirelessly are the sports professionals. And if you are not ready and equipped to handle that pressure situations, you will find lagging behind in making sure that you pace up with that expectation will always a challenge. And we aspire to make our students competent enough to have that edge of making sure that you're ready to accept all those challenges. And that's been our endeavor at ISM, to mold our students and to get them to groove with handling these challenges, handling these pressure situations, to be absolutely ready. Delivering the general management topic and topping up with the sports aspects of it to every marketing, management, operations, HR, all these management principles is a process which we already have. But what we aspire to have in our students is this particular age when they become that decision maker. And I'm proud to say, when we have associated with Government of India, Khelo India initiatives, and a lot of state government initiatives, including IPLs and all the international events, the feedback from where students have engaged themselves in is extremely positive, because we prepare them not only good in their academic part, but in terms of their process of becoming the right decision maker, to take the right decision under critical situations, under pressure. If you prepare them well, their ability to overcome challenges is good to see.
When we were conversing some time back, you had mentioned that you get icons from the industry, from the some leaders who can encourage or be role models for your students, and there is a syllabus in the way which you have developed. Can you have some conversation on that now? Can you specify that? How do you do it?
Sure. So over the 10 years of our journey, we have different sporting legends interacted with our students, and the idea of getting them to interact with them is to have their real-time learnings as a reference for our students. So I'll just give you a small example. We had Deepa Malik coming for our convocation, and she shared one very relevant point, that she's wheelchaired, but she has won more than 25 medals for India in 4 different sports. For me, overcoming challenges is a perfect role model is Deepa Malik. Because if you don't get inspiration from her, or you don't have a learning from her, then you are lagging in your process of understanding. We want people like them to share. I remember one very interesting story of Deepa, and she shared, and it hit me directly. We were talking about, in sports, how legs are important, the strengths, and all the other things are very, very critical for us as an athlete. And we harp upon so much. And here she was on a wheelchair, listening carefully to all of us in our conversation. And suddenly she just shoots back with one line, which just hits me to introspect and understand what I made a mistake of saying these things. She just said that, in my opinion, legs are overrated. And I'm like, oh God, what did I say? Because here is one person who's inspiring millions of people, sitting on a wheelchair with her 2/3 of her body is paralyzed, and she's surviving on a 1/3 of her body, and giving us saying that legs are overrated. Yes, legs are overrated, because she has achieved 10 times more than what we have achieved in our lives. And she's giving us an inspiration, saying that, what are you guys talking about? We look very little in this. Then we had Sachin Tendulkar coming in at our institute and sharing his experience with our students. He put an emphasis on the values, the importance of values. It's just become such a casual thing. But if you don't have the values, you will not take right decisions. We have Virendra Sehwag who came and shared his experience with our students. And he said that he would sing a song even when he was batting because he did not want negative thoughts coming into his mind. It's such a small thing. When you look back, people said that, वीरू आप गाना गाते थे. हाँ, मैं गाना गाता था because मुझे negative thoughts मुझे empower नहीं करने थे. So I used to distract my negative thoughts by singing a song so that my mind is fresh when I'm actually facing a Shoaib Akhtar or a Brett Lee. What a beautiful thought of a way of he prepared himself. These are the learnings for what helps us as athletes and what helps us as an athlete impart that and share that knowledge with the aspiring sports professionals. And these are the exercises we encourage at IISM to get the athletes share their experiences. We had Dhanraj Pillai who interacted beautifully. He said he walked for 5 kilometers for practice sessions because he didn't have the money. And the beauty of that is he is the only player who has who has participated in 4 Olympics, 4 Asian Games, 4 Commonwealth Games, and 4 World Championships. What a phenomenal feat. But the beauty of his hockey was in a different space. He adapted and adjusted from a grass hockey to astroturf hockey. So adjustments and adaptability is so relevant. How do you accept the change and mold yourself to still aspire to be an excellence, to aspire to become a top athlete? He shared that. It's such a valuable learning, and these are the learnings which are not part of any management book. And we are proud saying that these are the things which we share with our students. And these experiences, I personally feel, if a student takes it in his or her stride, he or she will always become that 1% or extra and find that edge in the industry.
So it is said that atmosphere makes everything. It actually
Absolutely.
paves the way for success. And can you tell some points, how could you make such an atmosphere? What is the secret behind that wonderful atmosphere which cherishes the feeling of sportsmanship? You walk in there and you feel your, I mean, I walked in, I'm not a, how have you built that atmosphere?
The most important component is a positive environment. Transparency. If you failed, you should have the guts to accept it. The moment that's your first step of, breaking that ice with the opponent. Creating an atmosphere, a positive energy. There are always ways, if you think about a negative part all the time, the reflection in your communication will always be negative. But if you're thinking about finding a solution, overcoming a problem or a challenge, you are aspiring to make sure that you bring in that difference, you bring in that change. In my opinion, if you create this kind of an environment, it's always healthy, it's always positive, it's always progressive. And that's what matters the most. When you are put into a difficult situation, if your problem solving ability is good, you will always try and find a way to come out of that difficult situations. But if you're thinking only negative track, you will succumb to these pressures, you will succumb to the challenges, difficult situation. And like I said before, many a times you are faced with these challenges. It's your mental ability, it's your positive approach, it's your thought process, how you want to be on the right side of it more often than not will help you put into good space. And that's when I make it that the atmosphere gets changed when you are thinking positively. When you're even a critical problem, if you are approaching that positively, that yes, I want to find a solution to this, eventually you will find. It may take one day, it may take 1 week, it may take 1 year, but the patience and perseverance will always pay you if you're positive about it.
Wonderful. We also invite you to Kanha Shantivana because that's one more place which you will cherish here, I'm sure about it.
I am looking forward to visiting that place.
Yes, after the lockdown, possibly we'll make a visit there. So one more question to you is, what is the role of a good team in making a sportsman, and how do you cherish the feeling of being with the team, and also fostering each and every person in the team, looking at taking off the negatives, whatever happens because of competition, or looking at the other person and feeling left out. How do you cherish a good team?
The most important component of a good team is competing and complementing each other. The moment we start complementing each other's performances, you are in a very good environment, because you know that today, if it's your day, somebody else is supporting you. In a team game, if as a batsman, if somebody else is running for you, he's complementing your efforts. He's making sure he's competing at his level, but competing as well. And likewise, you start acknowledging and respecting somebody else doing something for you. In a team environment, that matters the most. The trust factor in a team environment is extremely critical. That I trust in you to do that for me, and when I expect that, the responsibility of the person who I trust is equally important to deliver that. So, that part of trust in complementing a situation helps overcoming all the obstacles and hurdles and challenges. And that's why when you win, the winning test so better when you start complementing the efforts given by your teammates. And when you lose, it's always important that it's not a single loss, but it's a team loss. So you start taking the responsibility and a blame as a holistic team and not the individual, because it's it's such a human habit that you did something wrong, or you shouldn't have done this. So we get into this blame game habits. But if we start accepting the blame as a whole, we as a team will always think about overcoming that. Whether it's two people or 11 people, it doesn't matter. The idea of this part is, when we start respecting and trusting each other, the failure and the success are put into equal measures. So the failure's responsibility is equal, and the success compliments are equal, because then you're sharing that.
Thank you so much for a wonderful. So now I would like you to tell us some parting thoughts before we end the session, which we can carry forward.
Sure. I have always believed when I was playing, and it has processed in my mind. Everybody has their own limitations and their strengths and weaknesses. But the idea is, how do you look at it? So I believe I followed this mantra for myself, and I would like to share it on a parting note. Is that if you know your strength, that's your asset. But if you know your weakness, that's your strength. Because if you know your weakness, you will minimize your mistakes, and you will think about your strengths more often than not. So this is my parting note for all of you.
So this is just for this program. I'm sure we will have a lot of collaborations on the front of heartfulness. We look forward to you being an integral part of wellness. And before we end the session, I would like to present a few thoughts which come from the Heartfulness Institute, which are looking at the lessons what we learn in sportsmanship. So these are few which I got today morning when I was reflecting on how we should deliver what comes from the spiritual part of it. So it comes from the book Complete Works of Ramchandra. So these are few thoughts which are put forth by him. Fix your goal, nothing but the point you have to arrive at. The goal is nothing but the point you have to arrive at. What makes you reach your goal? It is a firm will which you develop. It enables us automatically to draw in power from the unknown sources for accomplishment of the tasks. A firm will which is supplemented by an ever increasing impatience or a yearning or restlessness to achieve the object will enhance the force of our effort, and we shall thereby remain in constant touch with the same real thing. Intense longing, restlessness to reach the goal will automatically lead them towards the goal. And most important factor in realization is our confidence in our capacity and power to achieve the success. Realization is not possible unless moderation and balance are restored. Moderation is a characteristic of nature, and a very special attention needs to be paid to external ways of life. Be gentle, be polite in your language, courteous dealing, empathy and love with fellow beings, reverence to elders, and an unrevengeful nature, and so on. Prayer, of course, is the link with God, but he says that prayer is meant for the weak. We have to make efforts. So this is the sum and substance of few of the teachings from Heartfulness Institute. And I'm very, very thankful to you, Nilesh, for having come and spend this evening with us. And we have many other ventures. If anyone wants to get into touch or wants to know, it's all available in the links. We also have a COVID relief fund, which we have started. We have a lot of webinars, which we are hosting on a daily basis. Dr. Kamlesh Patel gives a talk with Mr. Adizis on Friday at 8 p.m. Do find it convenient to attend that. Having said that, thank you. Thanks to everyone who was involved in this, and looking forward for all of you to be there for tomorrow's webinar. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much for inviting me.